All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 48 of the KissFAQ Podcast. This is a ninja episode that we weren't expecting to be taping, but it is Sunday morning, or Monday morning for Alain in Japan. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also joining me is Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss on the board.
Thanks for having me.
Lonnie, good to see you. So this episode is an interesting one that's just popped up out of something that's kind of been brewing in the background for a little bit that is now ready for public consumption. So there is another new Kiss book out, and let's give it its full title, The Illustrated Guide to Kiss in Japan, written by balish. Why don't you tell us, number one, about your new book, because a lot of people didn't know that this was coming, and it's great to see it finally reach a point where we can actually tell people about it.
Okay, sure. I created this book. Well, it's the book I wanted to read. If you've heard that before, it's no surprise. I was in a Facebook group with a lot of Japanese fans, and it occurred to me earlier this year. I posted a message that isn't there a book about Kiss collectibles in Japan? And I got some response like, no, there isn't. And I said, I think we should make one. And I got lots of question marks, and people were not really understanding what I wanted to do. So that was my crazy idea, was just a post on Facebook saying we should make a book about Kiss collectibles, about the history of Kiss in Japan. I realized 2015 was the 40th anniversary, and it all started from there. I just wanted to pay tribute to Kiss, pay tribute to Japan, pay tribute to Japanese fans, and start talking to people. And little by little, the project got started, and it's here, and I'm so excited and so happy, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
I've got to say it's one of my biggest dreams. Is that a train going by?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got to say it's one of my biggest dreams that people in every territory where Kiss has been an important part, such as Sweden, who have just done Kiss in Svensk, and Germany. I would love to see a German fan, do the same. So I'm really thrilled when we talk about Kiss and we think about what they did in Japan, and also the very close connection that someone stepped up and done a project like this.
Yes, I have to say the book, the Kiss in Sweden book, was an inspiration. Definitely. I mean, what they did was unbelievable, and in my limitations, I tried to emulate and do that for Japan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So how far back do you go with collectibles in the book? Does it start with 70s, in 77, their first trip over there, or does it go prior to that, or where do we start off?
No, it starts at the beginning. The introduction is 1974, but the real story of Kiss in Japan starts in 1975, and so that's where Kiss gets signed with Victor Records. So I followed the timeline from 1975 through the discography, the tours, and the magazines, and all the way through 2015.
Let's.
Very nice.
I just want to say, obviously, there's most pages are on the golden era. So of course, the 70s, the Kiss in makeup. It's quite obvious, but I pay tribute to all the eras of the band, all the tours. They've been to Japan 11 times, and of course, it's so 40 years is it took a long time to write. If I had to write everything, it would have been 400, 600 pages. But for budget reasons, I had to strategize and be an editor as well. That's the editor's job. What you put in, what you leave out. Because I had so much stuff, 40 years, but I had to decide what to choose, what to leave out. And I think overall the balance is reached. But of course, I want to pay tribute to what people like and love the most, which is the originals.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the balance is Kiss and Makeup. You know, they only had the 188 tour to Japan, obviously.
88 and 95.
Oh, yeah. You got me.
That's right.
Yeah,
the golden era was the revenge era. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So let's talk a little bit about one of my things that I really love about Kiss in Japan is the discography. A long time ago on the interweb was a chap called Garrison Spick who ran a website, Kiss in Japan. I can't remember the exact name of the website, and he tried to do what the KissFAQ did in terms of releases and document everything in Japan when everything was released. But he never got into some of the really cool stuff like different variations in the OBIs or OBs, as they're called. How do you approach the discography in this book?
First of all, I approach it chronologically, and one of my main ideas for the design was the albums need to be presented in the spread. So I'll just show you a sample. Which one shall I choose? How about the first one? So here you have here. I don't know if you can see. This is the first album in Japan.
Holy crap, that looks good.
That was nice.
First album in Japan is, of course, Dress to Kill. That's right. So you have the album. You have the translation of the OB, because you want to know what it says, right? You've always wanted to know. I explained the liner note. Sometimes I explain, sometimes I translate it. So you know the liner notes is what you call the lyric sheet as well. It's a 2-page or 4-page. So I explain who writes it, what the writer talks about. And then here you have the publication ad, which is also translated with some notes. Here on this one, you have the single on this page, but it won't be on all the album pages. So this is everything you wanted to know about the album. You have it in here. And since you mentioned the OB, there's a section on the different OBs. The OB is in case you don't know, just have an album here. Oh, I just happen to have one here. It's the paper that's on the side of the album. This is just a promotional item. That's all they are. But of course, to collectors, they're a must-have when you collect vinyl. So this is, by the way, the second version of Kiss Alive.
Julian,
so yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got a few copies of that one. That's the Victor
I'm
VIP
sure.
series, right?
That's right.
Rather than an S-Jet. Let's talk about pictures, because number one, what I saw on your website for this, and let's mention that website straight up. Where can people find you? We haven't said anything. We're going to talk more about the book, but
okay.
Where can they locate this?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch you.
Where can people find you on the internet? You have a website set up for this book, I believe.
I created a website yesterday. It's not the most attractive thing in the project. I created yesterday. It's kissinjapan.com. Let's see how far. And so you can email me, and I'll give you all the information on how to order the book.
Excellent.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Right. So you also mentioned color, which gets me excited. Is the whole book basically in color?
Of course.
I'm
all
jealous.
In color.
I'm jealous.
In color. It says on the OB, look, all in color. Yes. Why did I do it all in color? Because you have amazing Japanese books, right? Do you know this one? I don't know if people know this one. It's a compilation of Ongaku Senka, which was a book, a Japanese magazine, really active in the 70s, and they made all this Kiss special. It's all in black and white in newspaper grade color. Very unfortunate. And I remember actually contacting them a couple of years ago, and I said, you should put this book again in color, and I'm happy to translate it for you. They never replied, but that's another story. So yes, I wanted this book to be all in color, high quality paper, to pay tribute, because when people think of made in Japan, they think high quality. And so it had the Shinko music. They created great books, Kiss specials, and it's always top quality. So I wanted this book, even though it's fan made by the fans for the fans, it had to be up to the standard of high quality made in Japan collectible.
So when a lot of fans think about Kiss in Japan, the first thing that comes to mind are the two visits in 77 and 78.
Yep.
I'm assuming that we have some good documentation of those two visits.
That's right. It's actually perhaps the easiest documentation to find, because it's been covered so much. When they came to Japan, they were big news. 77, they were everywhere, and that's why I think there are about 50 or 60 pages just on 1977, just to give you an idea. With the discography as well, so that takes a bunch, and of course photos, which I found, and those photos, if you've seen them before, then please tell me where, and I'll tip my hat. But when I found them, I had never seen them before, and that's why they're in this book. So that's also a big treat, is that the never before seen pictures is also in this book, and I'm really, really happy. And a big thanks to the Kiss fan club. They opened their vaults. One guy in particular, Imai-san, he just helped me so much, and actually I'm dedicating this book to him, because without him it would not be this good. That's really obvious.
The Kiss fan club, is that the people who did LF fanzine, or is that someone different?
That's right. He worked in LF. So LF was the second generation fan club created in 1980, and they went with that name LF up until 2006 or 2008. And now the fanzine is called Sakebi. Sakebi means scream in Japanese. It comes from the Harder Than Hell album, Jigoku no Sakebi. And before that, there was another fanzine called Come On in the 70s, and I covered that as well. So the history of the different fanzines, mostly of course Come On, because it's the first Kiss fanzine in the world, and someone needed to pay tribute to them. So I'm doing that in this book as well.
That's really cool. I mean, as a collector, I ended up with about, I think, 70 copies of LF by the time I, gave up on fanzines. And, what I always was kind of interested about with the Japanese fans is the passion which they put into their fanzines. LF is one of the most incredible fanzines. I obviously not being able to read nearly a word of it. They did put some, translations in sometimes. But the quality, the pictures, the organization, the humor as well. Everything that came through, the cartoons.
Absolutely.
It was so very Japanese from an outsider's.
I'm paying tribute to that as well, because it's exactly what they have. The passion. It's the humor. It's really funny. The art, the drawings that they put in, and the let's say the word minutia. In one of the numbers of the reunion? I think it's the reunion tour, the farewell tour. They analyze the different patterns of the screen behind the stage, which guitar is used for each song, all the set lists, and they have lots of inside information from the Polystar or the Mercury label. And you're right. There's a special issue, and whenever Kiss comes to Japan, there are over 100 pages, and it's everything you want to know about the band. This fan club, this fanzine is amazing, definitely.
Awesome. So I'm sitting here. You said that Kiss has been there 11 times. I'm trying to sitting here in my mind trying to write down the 11 times Kiss has been to Japan, and I think I got
how many did you get? Okay,
77.
that's
78,
right. Yes.
88.
Yeah.
95.
Yes.
01. 03.
Okay.
04. 06. 13 and 15. Is that right?
You forgot 97.
That's right.
97.
No, you didn't. That's right. There's only 11 times. You are correct.
Very nice.
So let's talk about some of the photographs. This is a photographic heavy book, would you say? A lot of photographs in it?
It's not a photo book. I mean, the photographs are also for the collectibles and the different items, right? It's not just a photo book of Kiss Live. I've of course added photos of Kiss in concert, but you have a look at the posters, the flyers, the cassettes, some couple of T-shirts, the magazines. I'm looking at. Maybe you should be looking at. So here's, for example, the Killers page.
Oh, look at that.
So you have here the special inserts. I mean, the original idea was to catalog the special inserts that are notorious famous with the Kiss releases. You know, they have plastic bags, posters, stickers, and I wanted everyone to know where to look for and where to find them and explain where they belong, because you know on Facebook, different groups, you sometimes have a new collector or even someone who's been collecting for a long time said, I have this sticker sheet, which release does it belong to? And then you hear everything and it's opposite. You get the answer record straight from inside information, because there are a couple of people I interviewed. Maybe we'll talk about that and who I interviewed for this book and where did I get my information. I think that's also quite remarkable, if I can say so myself.
Yeah, the premiums that come with a lot of the albums, I mean, you just showed us Killers, and that's one of the most staggeringly expensive ones to try and find with its bag. The what else did that had an insert booklet, like a three panel fold out insert, and I can't remember. It had a sticker.
That's right, those three, yes.
And then the Elder, which is probably the ultimate, with that tiny little 1-inch pin that came. That's nearly impossible to find. You can get the sticker, you can get the bag. I mean, the sticker in the bag will be like $600. I think it's the last one I saw on eBay. Someone got a copy, I think, for $70 that came with the pin in the last couple of weeks, and that just hurts me. So, Japanese premiums, the posters.
I'm not gonna tell you how much I paid for mine when I found one here, but that's another story.
Do you have the binoculars in there?
Yes, of course.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's talk. Who did you interview for this, and what sort of areas did they cover? I mean, different focuses, I guess.
Yeah. Well, early in the project of the book, I was trying to get fans to collaborate, to contribute with items, and I have to say, at first it was not easy, especially in Japan. And I remember telling to someone, and it's like trying to open an oyster with a French fry. You know, people are not responsive. People are not helping. And I know they have stuff. And I've known these people for 15 years. I mean, we meet a couple of times a year. We talk Kiss. We go to a studio. We play music. But they were reluctant for some reason. And while researching, there was a name that came quite often, and his name was Akira Yokota. And Akira Yokota was the record label manager, Casablanca record label manager at Victor Records. And I thought, if I can interview him, I'll definitely make the book. I was hesitating whether I would do the book or not, because it was getting difficult to get people to collaborate. And I said, if I can get him to speak, if I can get him to talk and give me some information, then it's worth doing this book, and I will do it. So I started looking for him. I contacted magazines where he had given an interview. I contacted a radio station, because he was sort of I wouldn't say a personality, but he's been interviewed about rock music in the 70s. So that's where I saw his name. And couldn't find him. He's not on Facebook. He's about 70 years old now, of course. And I don't know if you want me to tell you how I found him, but good old phone book. We found an old phone book at the library from 1989.
Wow, and it was still valid?
And there were two people with the same name. Two people with the same name, and I picked their names. I picked their phone number. Why 1989? Because there's a big privacy law in Japan. Since 2000, you can't find information on anybody. So I get those two Akira Yokotas and two phone numbers, and I said, I kept them for a few days, and I said, I'm not going to call him. And finally, it was a Sunday night. I remember I dialed the number and I call. It's in Japanese, of course. And pick up phone. Someone picked up the phone. So mushi mushi. I said, okay, it's a man, and he sounds like he's about 60 or 70. And I said, excuse me, call you. Are you Mr. Is this Mr. Yokota's residence? And he says, here, yes. Are you Akira Yokota? He says, yes, that's me. He said, I'm sorry to ask you. He said, are you Akira Yokota, who worked for Victor Records to take care of Kiss in the 70s? And he says, yes, that's me. I felt like I'd win the lottery at that moment. It's like, and I explained, I said, Mr. Yokota, I'm a Kiss fan from Belgium. I love Kiss. I want to know everything you experience about Kiss. Would you please give me an interview? I'm thinking of making a book about Kiss in Japan. And he was so nice. Yes, of course, no problem. He was so kind. And so we met, and I asked all the questions I could think of. I had all the photos on my iPad. I said, what about this and what about this? And I have to say, there were a lot of things he didn't remember, because that was almost 40 years ago. But what he remembered was really great. And it's never been published anywhere, to my knowledge, in English at least. So that was really, really, really a great moment. And when we were talking, I asked him, I would really like to interview the president of the fan club at the time, Mr. Aoyagi. And he says, yeah. And he pulls out his phone and he gives me his phone number. I was like, oh. I said, do you mind if I call? Do you think he would mind if I call him? He said, oh, no. He knows a lot about Kiss. He was there and everything. And I said, oh, that's great. So I took the number and I called Aoyagi-san. So Aoyagi-san he founded the fan club in 1975. So I called him, and he was also super nice, super kind. And we met, and he had a lot of interesting stories too. So that's also in the book. And when I got those two interviews, I said, okay, I'm going to go full on with this book. It needs to happen. And when I told my Japanese friends that I had interviewed those two, they couldn't believe it. Said, "How did you find them?" And I was, at the same time, I was getting photos from collectors from all over the world. From all over the world, from Finland, from England, from Germany, from Canada, from the US. Everybody just sent me all their photos. Then the Japanese fans said, "Okay, I'm going to help," and they had great photos as well. And with that, I contacted the current fan club, the editor of Sakebi, Imai-san. And I interviewed him at first. I wanted to know the stories of Kiss for 1988-1995 tour, and reunion and farewell. And we talked and we talked. I interviewed about 3 times. And then he realized what I was doing. And he says, what you're doing is great. I want to help, and I'm going to help you. And that was really, really also a turning point into making this book. Thanks to him, I also interviewed Yo Masuda. Yo Masuda is a very famous hard rock metal journalist who's a huge Kiss fan, who was editor-in-chief of Music Life in the 90s, who worked for Burn. So I covered really the whole era of Kiss in Japan with those 4 people.
So those are the 2 kind of main magazines that I think most Westerners would be available when we talk about Japan, Burn and Music Life. I mean, nearly everyone who collects or knows something about Kiss is aware of the music encyclopedias of 1977 and 78. Those are absolutely classic Kiss items, regardless of being Japanese. Were there other magazines in the 70s, other mainstream music magazines that Kiss would have appeared in that maybe we get to hear more about in your book?
There are a few, but the Music Life was the main one, is the biggest one. And Kiss's luck, I suppose, was that the editor-in-chief, Haruko Minakami, just had a huge crush on Kiss, and so they were covered extensively in Music Life. Ongaku Senka was a bit less. This is the one with the compilation for Ongaku Senka. There are other magazines. I mentioned one that is called Rocks, which is impossible to find. Actually, let's see if I have one here. Oh, look at that! I have one here. And Rocks is actually interesting. It was a low budget, but they had a very different take on Kiss. A lot more serious, and they were a lot more had a lot more insight on what Kiss was about and how Kiss how to approach Kiss compared to Music Life, which was really following the Aucoin hype.
Lonnie.
Very cool. So you talked about that you were. It's fantastic that you were able to get those interviews with those guys from the 70s. But were there any? And you showed us some of the pictures that are in your book. Were there any photographers or anyone that was reluctant to submit anything for the book, or that you were not able to get a hold of that you would have liked to have in the book?
That's a really good question, and unfortunately, I have to say yes. His name is in the. Well, I'll tell his name. His name is Miyashita-san, and his name is in the 1978 tour book because he designed it. He has a photo studio, and he's the one who took hundreds of photos in 1977. And I found him. His studio is actually not far from where my office is. And I first contacted him by email, by phone, and he just couldn't be asked to do anything. He was just, that's 40 years ago. I don't have that stuff. He was like not interested at all in hearing about Kiss. But I can pay. I will pay. I want the license. This is money involved.
I have money.
Well, I didn't have that much money. I was kind of bluffing, but couldn't be asked to go into his studio and dig some rare stuff. Oh. Fortunately, someone else. His name is Takahashi-san. I contacted him out of the blue as well because his photos were in Ongaku Senga, and I found him. He also has a photo studio, and same thing. I said, "Are you the Mr. Takahashi who took pictures of Kiss in 1977?" And he said, "Oh yes, that's right."
Jesus.
And I said, I mean, Takahashi is like the name Williams in the US, just to give you an idea. Fortunately, his first name is a little exotic. So I said, I'm a huge Kiss fan, in the whole spiel. I'm looking for photos at Haneda Airport at March 18, 1977, and press conference March 21st. And it's like, whoa, Let me look. I don't know if I have any photos.
Calm down.
He said, yes, exactly. I said, oh, I'm busy. I'll be back in my studio in a week or so. Oh, God. Okay. Yes, please, anytime. So he calls. He sends me back an email. Said, yeah, I found a film. I was like, what year? What is it? Said, oh, I don't know. And he says it's a miracle because I used to give all the negatives to the magazine. It's a miracle that those that I have them and that I found them. I mean, this is 38 years ago. So he found them. Said, yeah, I'll have to put them on Photoshop, send you a contact sheet in a week or so. It's like, oh, can you tell me which year is it? I said, I don't know. So anyway, I had to wait. And he sent them, and they were absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy all of them. But the ones I bought were the best ones, and they're in the book. They're taken in Osaka in 1977, first show. So they're in high quality. They're never been published like that on full page in color. You may see bits and pieces in some Ongaku Senka, but with that size and that quality, it's a first. He had more, but fortunately, I had a limited budget for those.
So we've heard about a bunch of projects that are going on, not necessarily yours. How much of a challenge is things like photo licensing? Because you've done this book the correct way, that you have licensed photographs from photographers and gone to them direct. How much of a challenge is that for anyone who's thinking about doing similar projects that they have to take into consideration? And how do you approach photographers? Because obviously every photographer is different in how they feel about their art, whether it's just, that's 40 years ago, I don't care anymore, as you mentioned, to those who can actually make big money out of it.
If you look at the photos done by Miyashita-san in 1977, and you want to pull your hair out that he doesn't care and he doesn't know where they are, because that's really a shame. By the way, I contacted also Ongaku Senka because so the photographer said, well, I'll give it to them, and they said, we have absolutely no photographs of Kiss in our files, so no idea where they can be. So to answer your question, first of all, I had my first wall was that I was self-publishing. The first question is, who's your publisher? And then because I contacted the other photo agencies, and I know quite a few who had Kiss photos, but as soon as I said, I know I'm self-published, some things, no, sorry, we can't sell you anything. They had the photos, but because I was self-publishing, they were not interested in dealing with me. So there were two instances like that. So if you don't have the reputation or maybe the deep pockets, they just tell you they don't have anything for you. I contacted actually Bob Gruen, the legendary Bob Gruen, through his website, his assistant. They were very nice. Unfortunately, I live in Japan, so they directed me to their representative in Japan, which is another photo agency. And I got samples and everything, and then I got the price list. And I love Bob Gruen's photos. They're iconic. They're amazing. That's what got me. Maybe a lot of people got excited by Kiss in Japan, we're in Kyoto with the kimonos and behind the golden pavilion and behind those photos are amazing, and I wanted them in the book. I just, again, based on my budget, a postcard size photo, which is I guess like 2 inch by 3 inches, was about $350.
That's sort of price. That's the Kobe beef of photography, isn't it? So
yes, but I mean, they're amazing. He wants that price. I don't know how much he really wants, but the Japanese representative agency, that's what they ask. And it was about $500 one page size of those Kiss in Kyoto in Japan. So unfortunately, I could not afford those for this book. But maybe they're cheaper if you're not in Japan. I don't know what the rate is for his photos. To be honest, also I had about 20 samples, and there were only one or two that I had never seen. So they sent the standard ones. If you want to see Bob Grun's photos, Kiss in Japan, you have the music live anyway. So it's not like I was going to have never before seen or really rare one. I can imagine how much those would have been. And I would have just killed my budget for the rest of the book. So I reluctantly had to decline those photos.
So if you want to make money out of photography, become iconic, and then obviously you can name your price. But that doesn't sound like it's a negative. It sounds like it was an interesting experience to go through the process with Bob, because such a higher level photographer. And I think we've probably seen so many of his pictures anyway that if you're not going to see something new, why would you necessarily?
Yes. I would have gladly paid that amount if I had it. I love those photos. They're amazing. But again, I have them in the music life for me to enjoy.
You know, one tour of Japan that is a very interesting tour that they did was the 2001 tour with Eric Singer on the farewell tour.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that tour is documented in the book?
It's mentioned. I didn't want to go over the drama that happened with the farewell tour. Eric Singer replacing Peter Criss at short notice. I have some photos. I have some behind the scenes stuff. I don't spend too much. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages.
Which is probably about the right size for how many gigs did they play in 2001 in Japan? Not a tremendous amount, if I recall. I've got their website up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3,
about 6, I think. Six shows. Eight, really?
So.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. 7.
6, right? 7. Yokohama, Tokyo, Fukuoka, Nagoya, Osaka twice. Yeah. That's right.
So I just want to jump back to the photographs for a second. Were there any quality photographs that you rejected for a reason? Were there things that you just said, no, I don't want that in there?
Quality photograph that I rejected?
Yeah, were there any people who gave you photographs that you're just like, no, that doesn't work? Anything kind of on that side of things that obviously we've heard about, Bob Gruen, but what was your vision for how you wanted, I guess, to support this book visually with the photographs? What made a photograph or a graphic inclusion important to you for this book? It was strategized the real estate of the B5 pages. To be honest, again, I don't know how many people want photos of 2003 or 2015. I think with Facebook and Twitter and everyone gets on their stupid phone and taking pictures. I didn't have a huge choice of photos, to be honest with you. So the ones I kept are the best ones. The ones that are half obstructed by an arm or something, I of course rejected. Do we get a picture of the Momo Aero Club as it goes?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do we get a picture of the Momoclo girls?
Wait and see.
a little bit of candy in the book, maybe.
Yeah.
Look, I had to go there. Sorry.
Perfectly fine. Honestly, in hindsight, I mean, it's been a year. I think this collaboration was really fun. And they pulled it off really well. Both bands. I think it was a nice and cute match for Kiss's 40th anniversary in Japan.
So what do our Japanese friends think about you writing a book about Kiss in Japan in English?
They ask me why is it not in Japanese? I'm like, I'm going to write a book in Japanese. I'm so happy that so many people, so many Japanese fans want it. I actually yesterday I was in a there was 3 Kiss tribute bands playing in a club in Tokyo. 3 Kiss tribute bands, and I brought a few copies to hand out to some people, and I sold a few there. I said, oh, can I get one? So I'm really really happy they are interested in the book, even though it's in English. And I told them, it's in English. So, yeah, but it looks great because they look at. They can see the old articles and old photos, and that takes them back right there. Someone says, this is my youth. This is when I was a teenager. But a lot of the fans most fans are in their 50s here. So they all became fans in '77. So when they saw the book, they were really excited. They have the information from the Japanese, of course. They can read the music live. They can read the Ongaku Senkai and everything. But there isn't anything about the discography and the OP and this fascination that we have for the little extras and the posters. So they were quite impressed, I have to say, and I was really, really pleased with their response.
That's excellent.
Very cool. So, do they Kiss put out a lot of some box sets in the recent years? Like there's that box that looks like a double platinum album that you open it up and there's a bunch of discs.
Disc Union SHM box.
And there's like a destroyer looking one, and there's like a destroyer looking one too.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about do you go into the thing like some of those reissues in there?
That's a really good question, and I have to say that again, I couldn't make it a 600-page catalog on Kiss in Japan. That's why it's called the Illustrated Guide to Kiss in Japan. So there were things I left out on purpose for economic and strategic reasons again. So I'm not covering bootlegs. I'm not covering CDs much. No.
Okay.
I focused on the vinyl and the original releases mostly. For another reason is that I'm not an expert on bootlegs. I mean, all the different versions of Kiss Takes Tokyo and all that. I mean, I think there are 9 different ones, and the orange label and the bright label and the orange label with the white cover is like, I can't do that. Or otherwise the book will be ready for the 50th anniversary. So no bootlegs and not much on CDs. No.
Go ahead, Julian.
What about television? And Kiss appearing on television in Japan? Do you cover that sort of aspect? And I'm kind of leading here towards what is considered one of the video holy grails that might possibly exist, and that you may know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
1978, and whether any of those shows were filmed, and if so, if they still exist. Did you go into any of that area? I mean, obviously, when you're talking about an illustrated guide to Japan, I see exactly what you've kind of told us, that it's an overview in some ways without digging into these are the 800 different matrix numbers, for every release. So how much of kind of Kiss on TV in Japan do you kind of get into in the book?
I mentioned it. I think the longest I spent on is, of course, the Young Music Show, because the Young Music Show was a TV show in 1977 where they showed live at the Budokan. And there was a great interview in a magazine which I partially translated for the fans to know, because that show is basically the Paul Lynde Halloween special for Japan.
Yep.
That's how important it was, and so there are more details in there. And there's an interesting anecdote about the 1988 Budokan show on TV, which I won't spoil it for you. But again, the TV appearances now with YouTube, you just click and you have them. So I wasn't going to into cataloging the different interviews, and everyone knows the interview with the puppet in 1988 and so forth. The pay-per-view 2001 pay-per-view is on YouTube. I'm on it, by the way, if you can spot me. 2013 on Wow Wow, which I'm also on, by the way. So no, it was not self-gratifying. I said I'm on this video. No, it's I think with YouTube and the bootlegs, I don't spend too much time on the Kiss on TV.
What about the reunion tour in '97? There's that one show, and I don't know how deep you dig into things like this, but there's that one show that Gene didn't sing at all. That Paul had to sing all the songs that night. Do you talk? Like I'm not doing that. But have you guys? Do you talk about that or the strain on Gene's voice in '97 when he was there? And they did that commercial too that Spiro had to put on the makeup and breathe the fire for Gene while they were there.
That's right. Well, you know everything. Why should I put it? I don't know everything. It's mentioned anecdotally. Again, I think these are nice tidbits, and it's important to, for example, the Nick Entertainment commercial. Yes, it was great exposure because they were launching that magazine. Kiss is launching Nick Entertainment, so it's the number one. So there was a lot of media attention on TV with posters and on the trains. The ads on the trains here are huge, of course, because everybody uses trains. But again, it's not the main focus. The audience for this book are Kiss fans. I'm not explaining who Bill O'Coin is or who Peter Criss is. I mean, they're signed on Casablanca Records. You know who Sean Delaney is. I assume they had to take off their makeup when they arrived and all that. I mean, it's not the history of Kiss like you've seen in everywhere, the orange sneaker, the red sneaker, all that. No, it's focusing really on Japan and covering the 40 years without going into too many of the. I'm going over the anecdotes, but not too much into it.
Because a lot of that stuff has been written elsewhere, and I guess you expect your audience to know the background.
Exactly.
There are other books for that.
Yes, and also the translation I have for the liner notes. It's not the full translation. It's the stuff that most people don't know because it's not been written anywhere else. If you that Rock and Roll Over was recorded in an empty theater and all that. You knew that. So what I translated was the little extra things. When they talk about their solo albums in 77, for example, this... I don't need to tell you, you wrote a full book about the solo albums. But that's right. The book is right there. So little things that may not have been in other interviews at the time, I spend time and translate. If you the standard stuff I leave out. Nobody needs to hear again, it's our best album since Destroyer and all that. No, that's not important.
One of my favorite things, and this comes into bootlegs, which you've already told us that you don't really delve into, but I think it's mentioned in some of the liner notes. I think might have been Creatures Are Killers finally said about the cancellation of the alleged Live in Japan album, the Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo.
Yep.
Did you uncover anything new on that? Because that's really one area. I mean, obviously we know Eddie Kramer's tapes for that planned album did come up for auction and were pulled for obvious reasons why those would disappear. Did you discover anything new on that? Because that is one of, I mean, obviously it's off the NHK, stuff and was recorded at the same time as Young Music. It's the same shows in essence. But did you come up with any kind of really interesting things out of those liner notes and, that we may not know?
Yes, the timeline is interesting, and I just want to show you the case. I'm not sure if some people are aware, but the collectors. This is the ad for Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo. This is not the ad for Love Gun.
Ooh.
Ooh. So people have this and it's an ad for Love Gun because it's half the page is on Love Gun. But no, if you can read, it says Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo.
Well, I can't.
The interesting thing is that album is the catalog number is VIP 9529 and 9530, which is the catalog number of Alive 2. And that's all I'm going to say.
Nice. Yeah, I want you to leave us plenty of teasers, which you certainly have done.
Exactly. Make us go buy the book.
Yes, that would be quite.
They call that.
That would be quite helpful for several reasons. First, I really want people to know about Kiss in Japan because there is stuff you have no idea. I mean, probably more than half of the stuff that I found I didn't know 6 months ago. So that's really cool. Second, yes, I spent a lot of money putting it together, so it would be nice to break even. So yes, if you can buy the book, please do. And if you can read it, it's even better. Don't just put it on your shelf. That would be great.
How long have you been working on the book?
I started really in May, so 6 months ago. And I had my plan. I stuck to the plan. I wanted to finish the manuscript in September. I wanted to work on the design until November, having the proof, having the printing done. It's been perfectly on schedule. I didn't tell anyone because I was busy working on it, and so worked really hard to stick to my plan, to the budget for a December 1st release. So start shipping December 1st.
So that's why it's been so difficult to get you on the podcast for these past few months. Now everything's becoming clearer.
Straight.
It's yes. I could not be distracted because it's anyone who's tried to work on a book, and I think you know what I'm talking about, is extremely time consuming. And it's not just the manuscript. It's for me, it was also the design, the photos. So I did everything, and I needed to stay on time and budget because you can't work on it forever. It's the point when you have to say, okay, this is it. I have to wrap up, otherwise it never ends. So yeah, I worked really hard, but it was worth it. It was a labor of love, and I got a lot of support and help from many fans all around the world. They're thanked in the book. Their illustration, all the collectibles, the cool stuff they shared with me is in there. So it's a tribute. It's by the fans for the fans, and I mean it. It's not just a nice soundbite. It's really a really cool book, and I hope everyone loves it.
So this is a very limited edition book.
Yes.
You have had it printed now. Have you received all the copies that you're going to receive, or how quickly should people be getting this if they're interested by what they've heard today about this book?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me check one thing. I kept it. Okay. I have already sold more or less 37% of the stock in 24 hours.
Wow.
So yes. I've been busy answering email and all that. So when I said, my little video thing that I did last night on my iPhone, order it as soon as possible. It's not a marketing ploy to make you order fast, but again, I'm really pleased with the feedback I got from everyone. it looks awesome. I can't wait to get this book. This is what we need. This is great. And people are ordering. They're not just liking on Facebook. They're ordering it. And I'm really pleased. So I hope it continues, and I hope to get I hope to sell out, because that's where I break even.
So it's kissinjapan.com is where fans can go.
Yes, kissinjapan.com will get you to the email. You cannot buy it directly. Again, trying to save costs. You can email me directly, balish, BALISH at kissinjapan.com, and I'll keep a copy for you.
And that email link is up on the kissinjapan.com site. As we close this out, Alain, first of all, thank you for staying up so late and talking to us about the book. I appreciate that. But
my pleasure.
More than that, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to my copy arriving, and I'm not just trying to sell your book for you here. I am really excited about more information about Kiss in Japan, because it's such an area that I think so many fans have at least one Japanese release or have seen one Japanese magazine and have never been able to read it, and we're finally going to get a chance to read about Kiss in Japan from the people in Japan, firsthand. So it's very exciting. As maybe a final question, what would you call your biggest accomplishment in doing this book? The thing that you are most proud of, and you don't necessarily have to give away anything if it's something that you want to surprise us with. But is there something that you are really proud of that makes this book a success for you, no matter what happens?
Well, there are many, but so I know I mentioned in a previous podcast about a 1978 concert poster that I had seen in New York, and I never saw anything. It's in the book, so I'm very happy with that. The second thing is that being able to meet the key people in the 70s, so Yokota-san and Aoyagi-san, they were yes, the world's first Kiss fanzine. I'm very, very, very happy that I found that I was able to read and meet the person who did it. We talked for 3 hours nonstop on that. So meeting him was great. Imai-san, who's doing Sakebi, was fantastic. We spoke for hours several times. He scanned like 300 photos, 300 pages in 24 hours. That's how dedicated and how willing to help he was. So meeting those people was great, and I really, really again so pleased that most people that I contacted reached out for photos were more than happy to share them. To help make these books, and we need this book. That's what they said. Please make it. So I did it, and it's for everyone. So that's also another feedback I got, that the price is so reasonable. I'm really, really happy people feel like this, because again, it's by the fans for the fans. It's not a $10,000 book. It's for everyone to enjoy. That's why I did it.
And what is the price on the book? And can you give us some examples of, say, postage price to the U.S. and to Europe and Australia?
Sure. Yes. So the book is priced at 3,000 yen, and postage for U.S., Europe, and Australia is 800 yen. So PayPal should be able to figure that out for you. If I know some countries unfortunately cannot pay in Japanese currency for some reason, I don't know. The total is $35 US dollars for the book, one book, and shipping. And I have a couple here, so they will be shipped in a nice cardboard thing. It's not some crappy envelope from some other company that.
So it's like damaged, like the record that I got from Europe.
That's right. That's right. That's what I'm saying. Yes, between the lines.
God, I always love when I get packages from CD Japan. They're like beautiful boxes with high-grade tape, with bubble wrap, with soft paper to hold the book. So
yes,
I saw your rant about them earlier this week.
If I may say one more thing again, why people love stuff made in Japan. I had a great printing company, and the binding is the best, and the page, the quality of the page is really, really top class stuff. So it's a great book, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Lonnie, I'm going to let you have the last word if you have any final questions, because I've spoken more than I anticipated, as usual.
No, it's fine. So I don't know if I have anything else. I was going to ask the price of the book, Julian. You took that one from me, but it's Kiss in Japan is where fans can go. And if people out there are watching and listening to this, he said he's already sold 37% of his stock on it. So if it's something that you want, or it's something that you even want to give as a gift in the coming holiday season, I would definitely suggest getting on it and not waiting around, because it looks very high quality from what you've shown us, and the packaging of it I'm sorry, not the packaging, but the binding of it looks excellent. It's not going to fall apart like your history book did when you open it up. So I'm excited about it, and I didn't know much about it until Julian contacted me yesterday, but I'm excited about it, and I think other KISS fans will be too. I think Japan is one of the, Julian kind of touched on this, that Japan is one of those places that there's a whole lot of KISS collectibles out there that fans in the US maybe just have a tiny bit in their collection, and it's something that they maybe just dabbled into and don't have the resources, or don't have it's just not available to them. So I think KISS fans are going to jump on this, especially the hardcore collectors are going to jump on this, and that's what it's geared toward. It sounds like it's geared toward the hardcore collectors that already know who Sean Delaney is, already know who Bill Aucoin is, things like that. So I'm excited about it, and I think KISS fans are gonna eat it up. So I've already been on your website while we've been talking, so I'm ready to send you an email so we can get my copy.
Sounds good.
It's exciting. So what about 2006? Our friend Andrew said that he was at the concert in 2006. Is there anything on Andrew in 2006?
Anything what?
Is a live Catman Andrew Scambatti in this book? He was at the 2006 shows.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay.
Typical Japanese answer. Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right, let's wrap this up. Alain, first of all, congratulations on getting this book, taking it from conception to completion.
Thank you very much.
I think people are going to be very excited by it. This episode of the KissFAQ podcast has not been an infomercial. I think we've shared a lot of really interesting things about KISS in Japan today, not just the book. So thank you for giving us a lot of that information, but also to anyone out there, it is a limited edition. So, the response on the message board, and that's the response on the KissFAQ message board, has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
The response on Facebook to repostings about it has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
Again, I think we need to stress, when we see very positive responses to anything that any of us try to do in the KISS world, unofficially or officially, it's a great feeling to see that excitement, because it's not often that we do. So thank you very much for putting this book out for us to enjoy, and I can't wait to get my copy and have a good sit down with it. So, congratulations, and we wish you the best of success with it. I hope everyone supports it, or, reads about it. So, well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So for Lonnie, for Alain, and for myself, Julian, thank you for joining us today. We'll post the link for the website, and, get in touch with Alain.
ありがとうございます。
Yes.
Thank you. What he said.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you like, look us up on Facebook, or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. We hope to see you again.